All right, this is Stephen Key. Welcome back to inventRightTV. All right, you've got a great idea. You don't know what to do. Watch this video because this entrepreneur came up with a great idea, was able to launch it. He's going to talk about all the prototypes that he made, but also how he was able to get better distribution by finding another company to help him. Okay, everybody, Stephen Key here, and I have someone that you're really going to love what this guy does because he's trying to save you from being sick. Dan, was it Dan the Tick Man? Wait, is that how?
Tickman Dan.
Tickman Dan. Well, welcome to inventRight TV. Okay, you've got a tick on your T-shirt. Okay, so we're gonna get into this whole thing about ticks because they kind of give me the creeps a little bit.
Okay, as they should.
As they should. So tell us a little bit about you. Where do you live, and what do you do?
Well, I am Dan Wolf, aka Tickman Dan. I live here in Eastern Massachusetts in a town called Waltham, and I have been studying ticks and well, sort of unofficially. I don't have any real credentials, like I didn't go to school. I don't have a PhD or a entomology certificate, but I have been out in the field for about the last 25 years, immersing myself in ticks and information about them.
Now, Dan, why ticks? I mean, is it just because you're out there and you know that people do get sick and you don't want to get sick? Why did you focus on ticks?
Well, it chose me just like a tick would do. It's sort of they're referred to as ambush predators. And I was ambushed a number of years ago. And the real defining moment for me was the day that I came downstairs, and as a single father at that time of two boys, I noticed that there was a tick embedded in my, at that time, 10-year-old's back. And, it's easier for me when I get ticks on me to just kind of brush them off or, take them off and throw them away and not worry about it. But when it's your child, it really sparked a necessary interest in finding out more about ticks and how they behave and what risks are involved, so that people like my son, myself, and you, and everybody else, and your pets stay safe, because the problem is getting bigger. It's getting more complicated day by day. And so we really have to know, education is key, prevention is key. And that's the whole thing.
All right, so let's talk about it. I've had quite a few ticks before, and I've had them on my animals too, and I'm not quite sure how to get them off. I've heard that I can take a match and the heat they'll back out. I've heard to maybe twist them counterclockwise, but I have to tell you, none of it really works very well. So,
well, they may work.
What did you do to make it easy for people to remove ticks?
Well, I am a person that has a kind of a simple mind, so to speak. And I like easy, simple is better in this case. And you can remember, or some of you can remember, way back in the 50s and 60s when doctors used to do commercials for cigarettes. So some of the thoughts that we've had and what they call folklore remedies, as the CDC calls them, for tick removal have proven to be incorrect. And as a matter of fact, if you do remove a tick incorrectly, you could actually be significantly increasing your risk of exposure to these germs that cause illness, as opposed to reducing them. So I came up with an idea based upon the research that I had done online about tick removal, and discovered that there were all sorts of gadgets out there that were, great marketing tools, but were not the safest and most effective way to remove ticks.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, you've got a great product idea and you're not quite sure what to do. Or maybe you've got inventory in your garage because you were selling your product on Amazon and you don't want to continue doing it, but you want someone to help you license your idea to a company to bring it to market for you. We have a new program that's called Gateway, where we do all the work for you. We'll find the right companies and the right people to make sure your product is pitched correctly to get the licensing deal. This new program is called Gateway. If you're interested, please check it out. Okay, so you did your homework. Are you an engineer by trade or an inventor? I mean, how did you go through the process of looking at the products that are on the market and go, I can do something better than that?
Yeah, well, through my research, I discovered that the best, most effective way to remove a tick, and I have this is not real, folks. And if it was real, no one would be sick because we'd all know that they were on us. So just to give you a little background of the anatomy of a tick, this is a deer tick, which is the most dangerous because they are capable of carrying the most amount of pathogens and the most different types of pathogens than any other tick. And these germs reside in what's called the midgut of the tick. They get transferred into saliva, which is then pumped into you through the biting part. Now, this piece right here is the only one that we have to worry about. It is called the hypostome, and it is a barbed, movable appendage that gets inserted into your skin, cemented into your skin, and that allows it to feed to its fullest capacity and then fall off. So the simplest and easiest way, if a tick was biting you like this, is to come in from the side here, pinch down as low to the skin as possible, and simply pull straight up. And that's it. These mouth parts are crazy barbed. So they're really anchored into your skin when they're biting you. So twisting doesn't make sense to me because these are barbs and not threads. So why would you want to twist? Because there's a connection at the base of the ticks, what they call scutum. Ticks don't actually have heads. So you would only be loosening that up and setting yourself up for that piece to break off in your skin. So simple is better. And so I said, okay, well, there is a value to some of the other methods. One of the methods, I'm not sure if you mentioned it or not, is just to simply, like there's a tick twister out there, which has a slotted scoop, which you slide in. They tell you to twist. I tell you don't twist. If you're going to use that product, simply slide it in and lift it up. So I saw the value in that, and I decided to just combine these two methods into one easy to use tool, stainless steel and
let me see that tool.
Okay, so the final product is right here. And it is a very sharp angled tweezer.
Why is it angled?
It's angled because if you have a tick on your skin, what you want to do is you want to get close to the skin as flat as you can and then squeeze and lift. If you have the pointy tweezers, I don't think I have any handy.
You can't do that.
But it's just easier and more ergonomic, I guess.
That's a good. I'm sure you've got some intellectual property on that. We'll talk about that in just a minute. I'm sure.
Yes.
That's a nice little design. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And this scoop side is perfect for larger ticks. One of the problems with some of these other scoop devices is that nymphal ticks, I don't know if you can see these, but nymphal ticks are really small.
You're kidding me. That's small?
Those are larvas are even smaller. So these are deer ticks again. And just imagine trying to get that little tick into that big slot. And the problem is that by attempting to do that, you could crush the tick while it's biting you. You could tear the tick or rupture it. Anything inside that tick that I referred to, and this is my technological savvy here, is yucky tick juice. Okay. That's the bad stuff. You don't want that anywhere near a bite site. You don't want to be able to squeeze that because it might force that saliva containing or the germ containing saliva into you. So this is only recommended for larger engorged ticks, and I primarily use it on my dog.
I'm on the West Coast. They're pretty big, and when they get engorged, they're just awful looking.
Yeah, well, there's three types of ticks, at least in New England area or in the Northeast, that we worry about: is the dog tick, the deer tick, and the Lone Star tick. Now, I
Okay.
believe it's a similar type of problem on the West Coast. You have a Western black-legged tick, which is also the deer tick. It's
Okay.
basically the same thing, but on the West Coast as our Eastern
All right.
black-legged tick or the deer
Okay.
tick. So
All right.
they can get big. It just depends on the type of tick and the stage of life.
Okay. So you're looking at the other products on the market, you're doing all your research, and now you need to build a prototype. How do you do that?
Okay,
What is that?
this this is a letter that I sent myself uh, in 2013 with some extremely crude drawings that I made. I don't want to open it because it's kind of like a
Trying to protect your,
sentimental
was that
thing
the
here.
poor man's
Yeah,
protection type
because
of thing?
someone told me that if you send yourself a post-dated letter,
I know.
it's as good as a patent. Now
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but when I was younger, I always had that idea, so I did that. So I
Okay.
started, believe it or not, right here in this chair in my basement with some ideas in mind, and I had purchased some tweezers from online. I had just looked at some different things, and I started with a tinfoil prototype. I mean, this is
Very
probably
nice.
this is serious engineering right here. I mean,
That, that's that's pretty good. That's
you
actually
this is the original Ticky's prototype. So,
okay.
that
All right.
came,
All right.
and then there was other things that I needed to do. So, um, I actually sent drawings and sent my tinfoil design down to a factory overseas,
Oh,
and we
okay.
ended
That's
up
looking pretty good now.
grinding and sticking things together. And so
Okay.
this was also a prototype. Let me see, what else do I have here?
That's looking much better, Dan.
What's that?
That prototype's looking much better than the foil.
Well, you got to start somewhere, Stephen.
All right.
So we started with this, and then
Okay.
there was other types of iterations of it. I like
Okay.
the longer version, so you have more ease to get into those crevicey places on your body. So it was a
Okay.
slow process. And then we had 3D printing that was done, which
All
is
right. All right.
something important along the prototyping stage, and I think
Okay.
they're coming down in price. And then, of course, one of the early final products here.
Nice.
So that's the kind of the evolution, the simple, quick
Wow.
evolution
You
of
need to put
the
those
three.
under glass to show that. Uh, all right. So you're working on a prototype. How do you test the prototypes? I mean, do you wait for your kids to get a tick to test, or do you go out there and kind of get in the dirt and wrestle
That's
to get a tick?
That's a good question. Well, I became an avid outdoorsman about 30 years ago in
All right.
Eastern Mass, and at that time, we were looking for deer in this area, and there was something called a phenomenon called suburban deer overpopulation, and I'm sure there are other areas in the country that are experiencing that, but at that time it was really exploding. And there is definitely a relationship between ticks and deer. Deer are the primary, at least in our area, a spreader of ticks
Okay.
because they have a wide area that they live, and they're transient in their own territories. So they're spreading them around, and with the explosion of the population, you have more deer moving around. One deer can be in your yard one night, 2 miles down the road the next night, and that's how it kind of proliferates. So I actually have been bitten, and I'm estimating around 250 times by deer ticks. As a matter of fact, if you'd like, I have two of them on my leg right now. So I'd like to show you and the
Wait
viewers
a
if I can
minute.
do this. I'm in my shorts, so let's
You're
see if we
so
can.
casual about it. Oh, you're funny. That,
This is a deer tick, and this is a Lone Star tick. Um, so more to come at some point, but maybe I won't
okay.
be able to show you those. I don't know
All right.
if it's a PG show or a
I
G-rated show.
love it. Okay.
Uh,
All right.
so
Okay.
I
Let's
was
move
getting
along.
them on me all the time.
Yep.
Plus, as
Okay.
a deer hunter, I had a canvas. So
Okay.
every time I got a deer, some deer would have hundreds and hundreds of these ticks on them. So I could
Oh.
just take my tool, and it was a perfect
Oh.
practice type of
Oh, that's
situation
nice.
there.
Okay. All
So there
right.
was no shortage, and my
No
friends
shortage.
call me all the time. I got a tick, Some people knock on my door, neighbors, late at night. The big question is when you get a tick on you, what do I do next?
Yeah, I know.
And there's a panic, and I agree. I understand it. So I'm trying to help people
There
get
is
through
a
that
panic.
process in a calm fashion that gives them peace of mind and helps
Okay.
reduce their risk. So I have a whole protocol for that.
Okay. All right. So you've got this great design. Looks wonderful. Two-sided tweezer, basically. That's what that is. So what do you do about protecting it?
Okay, so I work with a great group of guys out in Las Vegas, I believe. Uh, that's where they're located. Um, and I'm fortunate that when I started my business, I had a good network. I recommend a few things. Find somebody that's done it before that you
All
know
right.
or have a contact with.
Good idea.
Have them become a mentor or an advisor on a friendly basis,
Okay.
where there's no influence of or incentives or anything from them to help you other than just to help you. And I've done that as well on some of my
Okay.
networking groups. So I always recommend networking on business pages. There's online weekly or whatever
Sure.
frequency groups that you can talk to, and they have some great ideas. There's also a government program. I'm not sure if it's still operating right now, but it's called SCORE, and it's a
Oh, yeah.
group of retired executives that just want to help other uh, inventors and entrepreneurs
Sure.
get started. So the first thing I did was I actually went to, and I don't know if it's still around or not, Legal Zoom.
They're
And
still
that's
around.
how I got connected with a guy by the name of Kevin Prince
Okay.
over at QuickPatents. And he was great. He was working with him at the time, but then I think he stopped with his agreement. This is way back in 2013, I think,
Okay.
late 2013, and he was great. He spent the time to talk with me. He's a really busy guy, but I can call him up now on the cell phone. He always picks up. He always gives me great advice, and the process was relatively inexpensive, and I say relatively compared to some of the other IP attorneys that you can hire.
Sure.
And it was thorough. And he actually, for me, I had some errors or some unacceptable design illustrations. And within like 2 days, he had updated them for me
Okay.
with somebody I guess he knew, and they were appropriate for the application submission. So I've
Yeah.
subsequently done, I believe, 4 patents with him, and
Okay.
I'm working on one more now, all in the tick realm, and the response has been great. I can't be happier.
Yeah, he's very good at design patterns, very good at that, the drawings, of course. And that's more technical with people don't realize how technical that really can be. And that he's great with utility too. He's a good friend. He does a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Yeah.
I'm really happy, and I've referred a bunch of people to him. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. All right, so you've got great protection. You're selling everywhere. I see it. I mean, I went online, but something happened recently. Could you
Yeah.
tell us
Well,
a little
before
bit
we
about
move on,
that?
let me just show you. This was the original packaging that I had. My
Okay.
company was called Tickies. This was my own design, and again, limited in my graphic ability.
Okay, not
Um,
bad, not bad.
but we
Okay.
started out like that,
All
and
right.
then um, I was working with another group in the outdoor industry that the unit goes in here, came up with
Okay.
this idea, and
Okay.
also helped me design the instructions and all that stuff. So
Nice.
um, that was that. And then now the Tickies logo is no longer being used because I sold the company after almost 10 years of scratching and clawing my way up the ladder. I was watching Shark Tank one week, and I saw a Shark Tank winner who got a deal with Lori Grenier representing the bug bite thing, which is a suction tool that you use on mosquitoes, biting flies, bee stings, and potentially ticks now.
Okay.
My idea was to draw some of that saliva that contains the germs to the surface and then either
Okay.
treat it or wipe it away if you catch it early enough, it just may help reduce that risk of exposure. So I
Okay.
called them up not to have them buy me, but to merge a product offering.
No, no, wait a minute. You just picked up the phone and called them?
Well, I did a little research. I sent emails. I used their contact form, and actually, I didn't get a great response right away. But I finally got somebody on the phone, and I got a call back, and I said, "Great, I saw you. I saw your success. You have sold millions of these things. Frankly, I was a little skeptical about this as a gimmicky product
Okay.
until I stepped on a bald-faced hornet in my front yard barefoot. I used this thing right away, and I tell you, I'm a believer now completely.
It worked.
Because later that same day, and I hadn't been stung by a bee in I don't know how many years. Later that day, I stepped on a yellow jacket's nest, and I did not have this tool with me, and that little sucker was bothering me all
Okay.
day long and into the next week. So I'm a believer now, but it's
Okay.
used for mosquito bites and other
It's got
types. Yeah, so
so
it works good.
they acquired you.
Well, the original idea was, hey, let's co-market these products together in a bundle and see
Okay.
if we can, do a combination offering. They said, that sounds great, but do you want to sell your business? And I said, talk to me.
Yeah. Okay.
This could be the big break that I need to help boost
Yeah.
sales and an ongoing relationship, which I recommend for other situations like mine would be a royalty deal. And having them just been on Shark Tank, they were probably pretty familiar with that concept.
Yes.
So we did set up a royalty deal, and that's going to be ongoing for the life of the patent.
Good for
So,
you.
and also it gives me an opportunity to do my work as what I call a tick fluencer. So as I do
Well,
my,
you're pretty popular. That's what I've heard. You're pretty popular about this topic everywhere.
yeah, well, I
Tick
learned a lot,
influencer.
and again, when somebody comes to me with panic in their eyes,
Yeah.
I got it. My son came home with a tick. What do I do? I'm freaking out. You go online, people are like, get right on 30 days of doxycycline.
Uh,
Don't do this, do this, do this. First of all, information is key. So there's a step-by-step process which I'm planning to outline, and I'm actually going to be offering what I call the tick line or a hotline where
oh,
people can call in. And right now it's a complimentary service, so I'll give the
okay.
number, but it's a complimentary service. But eventually it will be a fee for service, a few
Sure.
bucks for a few minutes of me just telling you, calm down, do this, do this, do this.
Yes.
I did it yesterday to a guy that I hadn't seen in a long time. I said, do you feel better? He said, yes. Thank you so
Okay.
much. I feel much better now. I can relax and
Calm
just
down.
follow the steps. So that's what I want to do.
Okay. So tell me, where you can buy this everywhere now, right? I mean,
Yeah,
how many
under the
stores
bug
are
bite
you in?
thing. Yeah, there's some great presence on Amazon. You can get it at the website. My product was in a lot of smaller independent stores and some bigger
Okay.
chains. The biggest step for me was getting into 1,100 Bed Bath and Beyond stores,
Okay.
and they loved it. I mean, you wouldn't think I was like Bed Bath and Beyond. You're gonna go there to buy a tick remover, but they informed me that this would be in the Beyond section,
Okay.
not necessarily Better Bath.
Okay.
So they loved it. They actually had me on video on a loop running in a whole bunch of stores
Nice.
over the product, and people would call me and say, even from all other parts of the country, hey, Dan, I was in Bed Bath and Beyond and I saw you on. So I was like, oh, I've made it now. But unfortunately, Bed Bath and Beyond did not fare well. And but that was a big step for me. And we were in
Okay.
catalogs, and I would go around. Listen, I didn't care if you saw my truck with my sign on it and walked up to me and I sold you one on the street. I would put as much effort into that as I would trying to sell
You
to
love it.
LL Bean or Dick's Sporting
Uh,
Goods or any of those bigger retailers. Walmart. We were on Walmart.com, and we did 5 clip strip programs to a bunch of their stores as well.
Okay.
So I mean it's simple. It's inexpensive,
Well, you
but it
can,
does the trick.
Dan, you can tell you really love what you do. It
Yes,
comes across clearly. And thank you for coming on InventRight TV, and thank you for coming up with such a very useful tool. I mean,
absolutely.
I think
You
it's
know,
brilliant.
what do they call it? Necessity is the mother of invention. And
Yes,
by the way, I was able to get the tick off my son. He had no ill effects from it. We get the tick identified. We get the tick tested if necessary, and we always consult with our physicians
sure.
if we have any issues or any further questions. But those key points of information: what type of tick is it? What stage of life? Where are you? How long
Okay,
was it feeding? And then what does that tick contain? Because if it has tested positive for a number of bacteria, viruses, and parasites, and or
sure,
parasites, doesn't mean that you're just because you've been bitten by one that carries, doesn't mean you're going to get Lyme or any of the other diseases. So it's there are different options that it's a personal preference whether you want to take a prophylactic dose of doxy or antibiotics, whether you want to get on a full course, or whether you want to just do nothing and wait and watch. So,
sure.
there's a lot of options out there. And until we have definitive, good diagnostics and standardized treatments and better antibiotics, which they're working on right now, this is really the only way to go. But more is better when it comes to prevention with ticks.
Yeah. Dan, thank you so much for coming on InventRight TV and sharing your journey of helping people. We do appreciate it very, very much.
Yeah, one last quick thing.
Sure.
There's a lot of hard work involved because when you're managing design, patents, inventory, you have to raise money to get money for purchasing, and then when I got a order from Bed Bath and Beyond for 600 stores at 30 units apiece, I
That's
was in
terrific.
this basement packing boxes and doing everything myself. So that's what you have to do. And I didn't mind doing that at all. The only problem was when I got that order, I was just getting married 6 years ago, yesterday. And at that point, on our wedding night, my wife and I were in my basement
Packing them out. Packing them out.
Bed Bath and Beyond orders until midnight.
Pack, yeah, I think it takes a lot more work than people realize. And I think a lot of businesses do start in your back bedroom or in your garage, and you are
Mhm.
actually packing those out yourself. So there's a lot of truth to that, and it does
Yep.
take a lot of work. So, all right, everyone, Stephen Key, InventRight TV, thank you for watching. Dan, thank you for coming on. And if you have a tick, you have a problem, please pick up, what's it called?
It's the bug bite thing, tick remover,
You
and
got it.
my hotline is 855 bad tick.
We'll put everything down below. Thank you very much for coming on InventRight TV.
Take care, everybody.